Welcome back to the Go Game Go channel. Tonight on Hammer Away, we say hello to owner and senior agent of DGRW Talent Incorporated, Mr. Matt Redmond. Matt joined DGRW in 2017 and has risen from assistant to owner in just 3 years. Prior to joining DGRW, Matt spent time at Manhattan Theater Club, the Muni, and Feinstein's 54 Below in the roles of director and producer. Putting to work his BFA in acting and minor in directing from Oklahoma City University, Matt views his experiences from every side of the table as a true strength in his leadership at DGRW. As an agent and leader, Matt believes it imperative to lead with empathy and focus on the impacts of mental health in the industry he represents. He's dedicated to fostering young, diverse talent as well as guiding careers of established artists. Matt's incredibly passionate about teaching and has used that skill when collaborating with Oklahoma City University, the University of Oklahoma, the Hart School, Elon University, University of Central Oklahoma, the Growing Studio, Broadway Plus, Bridge to Broadway, and a number of other institutions. Additionally, he holds a seat on the board of directors for the New York Theater Barn. So without further delay, here's Matt Redmond. How's it going, buddy?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for that lovely introduction.
How about that? I've never done those before. So boom, you are the first.
Great. I'm honored.
That's a lot of information. I didn't lie or anything, did I?
No, you didn't. You didn't.
So you're out in New York, right there in Manhattan. Is that where you are, or where are you?
Right in Manhattan. I'm currently sitting in my office in Midtown Manhattan, about 3 blocks away from Times Square, and I live on the Upper West Side in Manhattan.
Very cool. And you say it is hot there today.
It is very, very muggy in New York City.
Well, you have a great career as far as the things you get to do, the people you get to see, the impacts that you get to have on an industry. How do I say it? Where people can be pushed, pulled, shoved, and put in a different bad place, or you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's
it's rough sometimes.
yeah. I kind of want to get into that in a minute, but tell us a little bit about. I really want to know about DGRW and what is it in the meaning? Oh, you know what? You don't mind if I switch? Wow, what am I thinking? Everybody out there is like, what are you doing, Stu? There's a lightning round thing first. Before we get to anything else, we got a lightning round. Wow, where's my head? I'm so excited about this interview and the things we're going to talk about. So here we go. Being in the theater industry as part of what you do, and being a theater lover, what Broadway tune always comes to your mind as your favorite, right off the top of your head?
What Broadway tune is my favorite?
There's nothing that just comes to mind. I mean, you're like,
oh gosh, I think it kind of changes depending on, but I
can take that.
Gosh, that's so tough. I always get asked, what's your favorite, musical, or what's your favorite play? I don't know if I've ever been asked favorite Broadway song. That's a great question. I think probably it's not a really exciting one, but there's a really, really, so this is very nerdy. There's a really beautiful, beautiful song. And I think of it a lot because I worked on the show at the Muni.
Oh, yeah.
There's a really beautiful song in the musical Aida called, oh my gosh, now it's on my mind. No, called Written in the Stars. That's what it's called.
Very good.
Beautiful, just beautiful. And I worked on that show at the Muni. It's always been a favorite of mine. Written in the Stars, Aida. I guess that's my answer.
Yeah. Now, Aida, when was the last time it was at the Muni? What do you know? I think I saw that.
2016.
So yes. So you were there?
Yes, I assistant directed that production at the Muni.
Wow, I saw that.
That was my assistant directing work you saw. I'm sure you noticed it.
I did because I enjoyed it. So,
Good.
that whether I knew it was you or not, I still enjoyed it. So you were doing your job.
That'd be one of my favorite show tunes for sure.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah, there's so many. I mean, like right here, I've got some Andrew Lloyd Webber, things like that. But are you an Andrew Lloyd Webber fan? Some people just aren't.
I am actually.
Okay.
And so many people aren't.
Yes. I talked to the guitar player for the Knack, Bert Navarre, many years ago, and he's a playwright himself and has worked with a buddy of his for years on some different shows. And he just does not like him. So
yeah, he's a polarizing figure in the music and theater industry.
Yes, yeah. My mom was a huge fan growing up, so I'm a fan now, and have been for decades. But yeah. All right, here you go. Let's see, your favorite production with which you were involved growing up. Yeah. Ooh. So like I was in the theater family. We did some stuff. My mom was in plays. My dad was in some plays, but did a lot of work on sets. And my middle brother was in shows, and I was in a few shows.
Cool. I guess it really depends on what you define as growing up, because I think I'm still growing up, but no, before when I was in I think of that as high school and before, probably the Parkway South High School production of The Drowsy Chaperone was probably one of my favorites. It was kind of I got to play the lead role in that show, and I loved doing it because it was a lead role in a musical that didn't have to sing very much. That was just all acting. Right. And it was just about a total theater nerd living his theater nerd dreams. And it was kind of really just amazing to do.
Wow. I love that you can look back on that and see that as a favorite and think about how that may have been a catalyst or a beginning of, whoa, I guess this is kind of who I am, and I would love to do something like this.
Definitely.
Kind of wild. Well, here you go. What's your favorite we just had a show on Go Game Go about guilty pleasure movies. Mm-hmm. So this is what brought this to mind. Guilty pleasure movie, your favorite guilty pleasure movie, and if you could have been in it, who would you have been?
Oh. You're really exposing my poor taste here.
Hey, trust me, we all did it on the show a couple of weeks ago.
Guilty pleasure movie, probably Cruel Intentions.
All right.
But I'm like, is that even that guilty? It's kind of great.
Well, and that's where I have to always wonder. I'm like, is guilty pleasure a movie where you're like, well, that's a movie that maybe people wouldn't have thought that I would have chosen. Yeah. But that's my guilty pleasure movie. And it's good. Or is it just a movie that everybody thinks stinks? And you're like, I know it stinks, but I like to watch it.
Yeah, I think it would be Cruel Intentions. And I'd probably, if I could be anyone, I'd probably want to be Sarah Michelle Gellar's part, because what a blast. Just running around and ruining everyone's lives.
With Cruel Intentions. It's not just a clever name, right?
Exactly.
Not to mention, she's awesome. I mean, she gets some great roles. I don't care who you are. Somewhere along the line, you're like, I want to be as kick-ass as Buffy. Somewhere.
Exactly.
Somewhere along the line. So then, what would you consider? Here's a quick question about, because it came up in Anne with an E, and it came up in another movie called Coco recently, and a spirit animal. What would you say would be your spirit animal?
My spirit animal.
Yeah.
I have an answer for this one. I would say my spirit animal is a dolphin, because you just get to flop around and people pay to take pictures with you.
And they made a television show out of one. So
Exactly. Exactly. That's my most confident answer.
So maybe that's what you need to do, is see if you can represent a dolphin.
A dolphin. I love it. People pay for that.
Yep, that's right. Flipper.
People pay for that.
It's not a mistake. So if you could, so within your realm of business, if you could go back in time and represent an actor who's passed, who would that be?
An actor who's passed. Oh, that's such a good question. Oh my, you're whipping out some great questions here. Things I've never thought about. This is kind of cheating because she recently passed.
Yeah.
But I think representing Cicely Tyson would have been pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Because she does it all.
Yeah, because you get to look at it from even a deeper perspective than us. I mean, when you say her name, I'm thinking of all the great films and pieces that she did. And then let me ask you this: how much stage work did she do?
She did it a little bit. She was very in and out of stage. She did, because she like so many actors, she did it at the beginning of her career and when she was younger, because it's such a good way into getting into bigger things. And then she kind of became one of those household names that would then every once in a while step into a show because they wanted to, use a star in a play. But she won, oh gosh, I don't know how many years ago. She did win the Tony Award for, I believe, A Trip to Bountiful, doing that play with Vanessa Williams. And that was within the last 10 years, if not a little less, I think. So she really did it all, is like an amazing Black woman, leading the charge in her field. I think it would have been awesome to be her agent.
Yeah. Now, did she do singing and any singing?
Not really. Not. She was pretty much just plays and TV and
yeah. Okay. That's cool. Because I recently saw footage, some multiple pieces of footage of Goldie Hawn, who recorded one album that was released in 1970, and then recorded the tune for the First Wives Club, and then she had another single that came out soon after that album that she did, and she has this beautiful voice, and she didn't do much more recording than that.
She was one of those actresses that really hit it big with film that not everyone does. And I think too, once you've hit it big with film and TV, if you transition to singing and live performance, I think there's a bit of a hesitation because there are so many people who just do film and TV and they try to transition to stage and singing and it doesn't go well. And, I think even if you've started there, like some people have, there's still a bit of a stigma around transitioning to it. And, thinking you're just doing this because you can and you're famous. And
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think when I was a DJ in 86 working on the radio, Top 10 radio, we had Don Johnson had a hit at the time. Eddie Murphy had a hit at that time. And why can't I say the gentleman who was with Don Johnson on Miami Vice? Played Tubbs and Crockett, right? So anyway, he had a hit song as well at the same time as Don Johnson. So because the Miami Vice thing was huge at the time. So, but it didn't really go much further than that.
No, I think I feel like it used to though still be more like there aren't as many multi-hyphenates now. I think we're getting back into a generation of multi-hyphenates, but I feel like for a while, especially like as I was growing up, it was a lot of people who just acted or they just sang. Yeah. And if they tried to do one or the other, they kind of looked, when Britney Spears would try to do movies or when, and vice versa, when, whatever actress of my generation tried to record an album. Like, right. I think we're getting back into that world of a lot of multi-hyphenates, but I don't think we're there just yet.
Right. Now there's, and there's been probably, I don't know, 15 years ago or so, there were some rap artists that were doing the crossover, and some that still are within that. And you're always going to, some people, when you say that, there's probably a lot of people that are like, oh, well, what about such and such? And you're like, whoa, settle down. There's always somebody who can do both. There's always going to be that person that's so well known that whatever they do, whether it's acting or music, people are going to dig it because they've got a good agent that's helping them with a direction, and they've got management that helps them with all that. So, and they, so there's going to be exceptions, that are very successful in both.
For sure.
And that's for sure. Well, cool. That's awesome. Now, remember where we were when I said, tell us about DGRW, and what exactly is a boutique talent agency, as it says in the description?
Yeah. So a talent agency in general is a company licensed with the unions of the actors that basically says we are allowed to represent actors on their behalf as they are trying to gain employment. Okay. So we have a roster of about 220 clients who are actors and a couple directors, but pretty much all actors. Okay. In theater, film, and television. We don't do commercials and like voiceovers and modeling and print. It's just not a part of our agency. There are plenty of agencies that do it. We just don't. Okay. Boutique really is a way of saying the size of our agency, and we are not a bi-coastal agency, so we don't have multiple offices. We're just New York based.
Gotcha.
And I mean, if you ask anyone in this industry, they'll give you a different definition for everything. But my personal definition for boutique would be like 150 to like 350 clients. Like, okay, that would be kind of my personal definition. But you will meet tons of people that will say 350 is too much, or boutique could go up to 500, whatever. Yeah. So DGRW was started 33 years ago by the four of those letters.
Yeah. What are those?
Barry Douglas, the D, Fred Gorman, the G, Flo Rothacker, the R, and Jim Wilhelm, the W. Okay. Fred and Barry passed away, I believe, in the late 90s, ? Okay. Flo retired in the early 2000s, and Jim Wilhelm is who hired me there 4 years ago when they had need for an assistant. So I started there as an assistant working under Jim and then two other talent agents at the office. And then one of those agents left to go to another agency about a year and a half into my time there. So I was promoted to an agent position, and we got another assistant. And then in the wake of all the pandemic and everything, Jim Wilhelm decided last summer that he wanted to retire. And, I shouldn't say officially retire, but, start the process.
Yeah, because I noticed on the website, he still is, Yeah,
so he, if the world hadn't gone the way it did last year, I think he probably would have had about 2 or 3 years left to really run the agency, while he maybe did a slower transition of things to me. But he just decided that last year, when everything was so uncertain and things really quieted down the first few months of the pandemic to our industry, we decided to start the changeover there. So I took over. And the other agent at our office decided to exit the business, as so many did, in the wake of the pandemic. So I brought on another agent from another agency. She left her job there and came and joined us.
Oh, cool.
And so it has been myself, her, and our assistant, who our assistant is slowly becoming an agent. And then we'll get another assistant. And then we'll be back to the sort of one assistant, 3 agents that we typically are. But Jim is still around as a consultant and helps out here and there. And he's a big rock for us all to lean on to if we need to, for sure. Yeah. Especially because our job, whether you're an assistant, an agent, an owner, and everything, this job is so much learn as you go. There's really not a manual for it. It's just kind of like, if you have an interest in it, you start doing it. And as things come up, you learn how to do them as they go. Yeah, pretty much it. But so basically, I often get confused for a casting director, or some people call us a casting agent, which is not true. Fun fact for anybody watching, there is no such thing as a casting agent. There are casting directors or talent agents.
Oh, okay.
But an agency implies that you are helping seek employment for people, and casting directors are not doing that. Casting directors are helping to gain employment for actors because they're working for producers and directors and companies to say, like, you need to get these people, like, these are the people you want. But agents, we are the ones that are actually technically procuring employment for an actor. So
you've got kind of a thing where you've got to kind of play, well, I mean, you, in order to be successful with your clients, you have to kind of run, I don't want to say a game, but you also have to run the game where you've got to stay in touch with those folks who are on the other side of it, you know, where you're like, okay, I got to be with that. Cause if that works out, does it ever work like that? Where you're kind of like, if I've got a few different people that can work with this same project, then if I know them very well, then maybe we can get these 3 people or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. Our industry is all about relationships. So the way we work is, all of us at DGRW, we share our client list together. So a way a lot of bigger agencies work is each individual agent has a roster of their own clients that are selected to them. We don't do that. All of our clients work with all of us. Yeah. We break up our work on the back end. So we actually break up the work by casting director. So each agent in my office, we have a pool of casting directors that we specifically work with.
Gotcha.
So I handle most of the theater in my office with a little bit of the film and television. And my coworker, Kat, handles most of the film and television with a little bit of the theater. So basically, for example, because everybody knows it, the musical Hamilton.
Yeah, I just watched it the other day.
Yes. It's cast by, the casting director for Hamilton is Telsey and Company. Or excuse me, they have a new name. They're called the Telsey Office.
Oh, okay.
The Telsey Office is who casts Hamilton. So when they are looking for people for Hamilton, when they are wanting to look at DGRW clients, they know that I am their point person.
Gotcha.
So they know they're coming to me, as opposed to like having to look up my specific client and look who that client's agent is. They just know, like, the Telsey office knows if they want someone from DGRW, they come to Matt. If Law & Order SVU is casting for actors for an episode, that's from a casting director named Jonathan Strauss, who's also a producer on the show. Jonathan Strauss knows, their office knows that if they want someone from DGRW, they're going to Kat, not me.
Gotcha.
So it really streamlines that communication, but it also helps us build really good, strong individual relationships with the casting director. So they know, for example, they're making a new musical version of The Notebook. And they were putting out some auditions for it today. And I wrote to the casting director at the Telsey office and said, I would love for you to see these actors. And they gave me most of those auditions I asked for, because they, even if they don't know the actor, they know they have the established relationship with me and, well, really DGRW. And so they know that if we're doing what's called pushing an actor, that's when we send their materials over and say, please give them an audition. they know that they can trust our word, or maybe our person isn't necessarily right for it, but they can tell us like, hey, like they seem great, but they're actually, we're actually looking more this or looking more that,
Yeah, because that always is huge and helpful. I was just talking to a friend of mine today about some music and stuff and things that they're working with. And I was like, well, where are you in this project? I mean, do you want a little feedback, or is it too late for feedback? So, I'm like, I want to make sure that I can get that relationship going to maybe later if they go, well, maybe I will have you hear it, when I'm still working on it and see what you think.
Exactly.
Because you don't ever want to go too deeply. If they're like, well, thanks, it's done. So,
For sure.
You got to know when to say, it sounds great, or do you want me to say anything?
Exactly.
Well, that's great. I love it. So that's really cool. That's having those relationships is huge, and having the understanding, like you said, make it streamlined and quick, because man, that's a busy industry.
Definitely.
They don't have time. Where did your passion for this vocation, where was that born, and when did that happen?
I think it happened in college, but I didn't really know it happened in college. I went to school as an acting major and pretty quickly decided I didn't really want to actually pursue performing. I knew I wanted to be in this business. I just didn't really know as what.
Yeah.
So, I kept up my acting training because it was important, and my scholarship, and picked up a minor in directing. And then, and in college, I was really doing anything I could that wasn't on stage. So I was directing shows. I was producing them through the student-run theater company. I was doing anything I could in basically in leadership positions, and just kind of taking charge and figuring it out. And for a while, I thought I was going to be a director. And like I mentioned before, I assistant directed a few shows at the Muni. When I moved to New York, I produced a couple concerts at 54 Below and spots like that. And worked at Manhattan Theater Club in the producing department. And all of that stuff was just so I missed getting to actually really interact with actors. It just was so businessy, and so I always tell everyone it was just The Devil Wears Prada. It just felt crazy.
I love that movie. I love that movie. Great movie to watch. Not a great experience to live. No,
not at all.
Somehow we've all been there somewhere.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, thank God not for the whatever, the length or the lengths that character had to go to, even.
I know.
But I've dealt with some people in the past, and I'm just like, wow, really?
I know it's something, but yeah, it was so corporate, and I didn't really like that.
Right.
And I missed getting to actually really interact with actors, and I was always in college. I felt like I was helping my friends with their when they were deciding what to do for auditions, and and they were picking between their headshots and everything. I felt like I was always just helping them, and I missed that interaction and being a source of a leader for them, and being a source of guidance for them. And it was always when I was acting in shows in college, I wasn't that good at it, and I'm not saying that I'm not being self-deprecating. It's just really true. Part of my actual career now is to assess talent. And I can tell you right now, in college, I really wasn't very good. And that's okay. Yeah. And I wasn't, it wasn't coming natural to me. And, for acting has to come natural to you. It just does. And it wasn't. I had to work so hard to not even be that good. But what I never had to work hard at was helping my friends, having an opinion, looking, being in the know about what's happening in the business. That never felt like work to me. That stuff was always fun. And we had brought in some talent agents to our college to do master classes and things. And so I always got to see talent agents work and hear about them. It was always kind of in the back of my brain, like maybe one day. And then when I had finished up my time at Manhattan Theater Club, I was like, you know what? Like, I've always thought about this agent thing. You know, I've talked to my friends about their agents. I've met a couple agents. I've always thought about it. And it seems like the thing I could do that still feels slightly creative, but like lets me be in touch with actors, which is what I actually like to do. And so I just put every feeler out imaginable and applied for jobs at playbill.com in the jobs listings. And that was where the listing for DGRW was. And I interviewed there, got the job, and basically like 6 months into being an assistant there, I was like, oh, I get this. I understand it. Whereas like a few months into the Muni, which I love the Muni, so excited to be back there, seeing shows soon.
Yeah.
I love it. But it was hard. It was really hard. And I never felt like I had a good grasp on it. I never felt like I was doing it right. And when I worked at Manhattan Theater Club, same thing. Like, it was an honor to be in that room, and I got the work done, but it never came that natural to me. I felt I was making a lot of mistakes and had to be corrected a lot, and that was not like me.
Yeah, that's tough.
And when I got to DGRW, like 6 months in, I told my boss at the time, I was like, I get this. Like, this stuff works. It clicks with me. I get it. So let's keep it up, because I really understand this.
Well, it's pretty cool that you became a seeker and you were okay with, you know, hey, I know that I'm maybe just not supposed to do that, but man, this feels right. And you know, you can look back and think about the role that you played for a lot of your friends and know that, well, then maybe that's my place. I mean, that's kind of where I am too. I think that actually plays into what my next question is, because I've been in touch with a lot of musicians over the years. I've gotten to know quite a few, and I've heard some horror stories from them regarding being wronged by management, which in turn, you know, it made me wonder if that would be a good fit for me, somebody who could be, you know, there for somebody in a managerial situation and not rip people off. But my question is, can you speak about the pitfalls that actors or entertainers endure that created in you the drive to be somebody in whom they could find a happy home?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I don't know if there's things like that happen that made me want to be an agent. I do think there are things that happened like that made me want to specifically be certain people's agents.
Ah, gotcha.
I think I wanted to become an agent because I loved the idea of helping actors. And I didn't, you know, other than seeing actors like my actor friends struggle, you know, with auditions and things, I don't think there was anything ever that I thought like, oh, I need to be an agent so I can right these wrongs.
Okay, gotcha.
I think through becoming an agent, I have certainly found things that I want to fix, and certainly specific people, you know, that I've met that I feel like have maybe not had the best relationship with an agent or the best luck. I've certainly seen individual things and circumstances that I've wanted to fix and help as a better agent. But I will admit, I think my desire to become an agent was not necessarily like a specific thing that happened or a specific frequent thing. It was just more just the in general idea of assisting and helping actors. And that's why I think I love, not why I think, it's why I know I love DGRW, because we have such a wide range of actors at our company. We have some very established actors who don't really necessarily need as much like guidance and much of a push as so much as they need like a fierce advocate on the contracts that they're being offered. And we have some actors who really need a push. They need help getting in that room. and everything in between. You know, we have some actors that have been in plenty of rooms and there's different ones they want to be in, or et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's what I like most about it, is all actors have one thing in common. They want a job.
Mm-hmm.
But every actor wants a different job and has different means to get there and has a different journey to get to that job. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I like the most about it, for sure.
Yeah. Do you find that this is just off the cuff. Do you find that it's a situation where with the actors and the things that I mean, those of us who have done just that little bit of it, in my case, and the experiences you had throughout school and into college, there's that time that comes, every project comes to an end, and every project becomes a family, and every situation, you know, I remember being in plays and you all rely on somebody. It's like a band. It's like, you know, I've done that for years, where you're in this situation where everybody's relying on everybody, and you're like the most tight-knit family, and it's people, all of a sudden you're like, I love these people, and you're like, this is so cool, and night after night, day after day, and then as the show gets closer, you're closer together because you're together for the whole week before the show, and then there's the show, and then it's over, and you're like scattered to the wind, and you're like, okay, well, let's keep in touch, or give me a call, or whatever. And that can leave a person with a lot of emptiness, and they don't want it. It just shows up there. It just happens.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of that in the last year, since, you know, all the people I work with, their jobs were completely ripped away from them.
Yeah.
I think it's a harsh reminder, whether it's a pandemic or not, if it's just a show that closes or whatever.
Right.
It's a harsh reminder that it's also a business at the end of the day.
That's right.
You know, it's a business.
That's right.
I think as an agent, that's one of the only pitfalls I don't really have to experience. But I definitely experienced that in high school and college a little bit. Mm-hmm. You know, some of my closest friends that live in New York are friends that I've had since high school, college, middle school, you know, because a lot of my circle just moves here and relocates here. So that's been a really nice, really nice part of New York life. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, that's cool. Because I just was wondering, you know, you just wonder if, I'm your agent, but I'm not your therapist. But you're like, maybe I am. And
I definitely am their therapist. You know, actually, before this call, I was on the phone with a client of mine who a month and a half ago went to Australia to join the company of the musical Come From Away in Australia. Wow. And COVID is running rampant there right now. Well, their version of it. I mean, because the actual amount of cases isn't so bad in Australia, but they're very under-vaccinated, if you will.
Gotcha.
So they've had to shut down in a way that, you know, we thought her going to Australia would be a good thing because Australia was handling COVID so well. Right. And when she went to join, they were in performances. She was just a replacement to join the company. So they had spent the last probably 6 months, you know, doing the thing and being in the shows and everything. And so I definitely played therapist for a good 30-minute session to talk. And gladly, you know, that's another thing is I'm, you know, no one is a talent agent in New York, especially after this last year, who doesn't genuinely like it and genuinely want to help people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't even imagine. You know, I don't know. I can't even imagine being within that situation as a job. I mean, that's what your job is as an actor and entertainer, is to go in every day and do that. And then, nope, you don't do that today. Yeah. And for a long time, you don't do that.
Totally.
You know?
Totally.
One of the clients of the firm that I was interested in seeing was a woman who played, because my friends and I on Go Game Go and the folks that we've gotten to know through our show just within the last year all are we're like classic big television fans. So to see Max Gale alongside one of your clients was really cool. I think it was General Hospital. Is that what?
Yes, Janet Hubert.
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't that wild? I was like, wow, working with Max Gale, who I knew growing up as Woj Howitz on Barney Miller.
So
I was like freaking out. I'm like telling my friends, I'm like, hey, you guys got to check this out.
Yes, Janet actually is a perfect example of someone who started in theater. She went to Juilliard for dance, and she was in the original Broadway company of Cats.
Wow.
And she did many musicals before she went into The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And then she had an, I don't want to say rough patch, but she'd say it too. Fresh Prince caused her some drama. And many years later, I got a job at DGRW and realized, oh, wow, Aunt Viv is one of our clients. Because that's what I always knew her as. And we've spent the last year after the Fresh Prince reunion on HBO Max really just having a killer year for her. She's shot 3 movies and 3 television shows in this time. So she's really been killing it. It's been really cool to, like I said, be a part of so many very different journeys, plucking a kid from college and putting them on an episode of FBI and putting, Aunt Viv on the next season of Love Life on HBO Max. So it's been a blast.
Oh man, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. What is your, well, let me check my list here, because I'll make sure I get through these questions. So speaking of these folks, that this is perfect. You and I are moving right through this beautifully, because my next question is, for what do you look when you're looking over a prospective client, and how often do you meet with them prior to signing them?
Yeah. We, at the end of the day, we're attracted to different people for so many different reasons. There's a lot of different ways to find clients. A big one is referrals. A client of ours saying, hey, my friend's looking for representation, or, I was just in a show with so-and-so, they need an agent, or through college showcases. So college theater programs will do showcases in New York or virtually for their talent. So the young talent can get signed right out of college. There's a lot of programs in the city, like training programs that result in agents coming to see some people work. And, I signed an actor from one of those programs, and with really no experience, but I just saw a lot of potential in them and really liked them as a human. And right away they booked an episode of FBI on CBS.
Wow.
And we signed a lovely actress this year named Melissa Errico, who she was nominated for a Tony for her role in Amour. She has been on many, many television shows, done a couple movies. She's a big concert cabaret artist, and she's well into her career, and she was looking for new representation, and we signed her too. And then we've signed kids coming out of college, because they need representation too. So we go back and forth. Like some days it's like, or some weeks it's like we need to cool it with the meetings, and sometimes it's like, but we're really excited about this person, so why not?
Exactly.
We pretty much take one meeting and then decide from there.
Okay.
If we feel we're the right representation for them, and if we do, we offer them representation, and hopefully they say yes. But oftentimes they're also meeting with a lot of other people.
Sure.
So they're deciding on their end as well. But we really use the meeting to figure out one, if we like them, are they a good person and easy to talk to, easy to get along with, and do our goals align? We always ask them, what are your goals? What do you want to be doing? And sometimes we really like them, but our goals don't really align. We see them say things and we think, we don't really see that for you. We see you more like this or more whatever, or this would be a good long-term goal, but what are your goals in the short term, or, et cetera, et cetera. And so we really use that meeting just to figure out, do we like them? Do our goals align? Because those two things determine if we feel like we can work for them and work with them.
Right. Wow. That's pretty cool. Cause it's an industry where I know you can do this you could have any job. And if somebody gives you constructive criticism, or a little guidance, that they can take it the wrong way. But it can be a real sensitive thing, because you're, have you found there's a widespread situation of people just not taking that well?
It's very individual.
Okay.
There's some people who I have to talk to all the time and say, you didn't book this. And some people handle it really, really well. And some people are like, I don't want to say are used to it, but just take it in stride, because it's not that they're used to it, but it's that they've accepted that that's a big part of this business, is the rejection.
Well, yeah, right. Yeah. It's like I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason, and everything happens when it should.
Totally.
And I think there's a lot of, if we all can find that spot, it's not an easy spot. It's like I say, life is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Just be cool and play fair, and it's a really good thing.
Love that. I love it. It's not easy, but it's simple.
It is very, because what do you have to do? Well, you have to practice, you have to do this, and you have to get better, and you have to do that. That's pretty simple. Totally. Is it going to be easy? No, not always. The practicing, for me, being a musician, that's not always an easy thing. It's the loneliness of the long distance runner, as I call it, as it's been called long before I was born. But that's what it is. It's the getting in the woodshed and shedding until you're like, and then somebody goes, well, try this. You're like, what? I've been shedding for a bunch of, what? I still got more to do. So
absolutely.
Where do you kind of see the future of DGRW, like say the next 5 years, next 10 years? Are there advancements that you guys want to make in certain areas, being a boutique agency?
Yeah, it's a great question. Definitely one that I've gotten in the last year, so I can actually form a good answer for that one.
There you go. Good.
No, I think, I have no desire to make DGRW some crazy huge entity for, with 1,000 clients or, an LA office, or I have no desire for that. I just selfishly really want DGRW to be a place where a lot of actors want to be represented by.
Right.
Which I think we've done a pretty good job at in this last year because a word you said before is managerial. We consider ourselves a very managerial style agency. It's a really big part of what we do. Our clients do get a lot of personal attention and are not just checking a box as some people say. And we really feel like people don't really fly under the rug here. So we are we're very proud of the work we do, and I just want to keep that up. I really do. It's been such an established business in New York for so long, and a company that has a great reputation here. And I just want to keep that up. That's the 5, 10, 15, 20-year plan. Yeah.
And then how close to you as far as a maximum capacity, do you still have a lot of room to go with some different people, and knowing that sometimes people switch or they stop doing what they're doing or whatever?
Yeah, it's really common for people to just stop, especially this last year. People have left the business. People, people switch agents, they look for other representation.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, sometimes we feel it's not working and we sadly have to let them go. But I wouldn't say, I won't lie. We're definitely more full now than we have been before because we have been growing.
Good.
But we've always all agreed, like, we would never take on anyone we didn't feel like we could provide that service to.
Right.
So I don't feel like we've hit like a cap or anything. We definitely are more full than we have been, but nothing we don't think we can manage.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And it is kind of neat though that, you know, you got people that come in, come out, you know, it is a morphing situation where
totally,
you know, somebody new comes and some, you know, and like you said, that's what's really cool too, is some days you see people that you've seen before and you're like, oh yeah, we could work with you if you'd like, you know.
Exactly.
So that's kind of cool. Let me see what I've got here. This is one of my last questions before I go into maybe a real quick something, because you have to get going. You've got something cool to do tonight. We'll talk about that in a minute. Well, let's move on to something on every entertainer's mind, as well as those who want to be entertained. We've kind of touched on it just a skosh so far, but what's the situation right now with theaters on Broadway being open again?
Yeah, you know, as of now, the first Broadway play is set to open in a couple weeks.
Okay.
The first Broadway musical will open in September.
Okay.
And then a lot of other musicals will open in late September, and then there will definitely be some October, November openings. The first national tour opens next week in Dallas.
Okay.
So the industry is definitely coming back. I try to be optimistic, but I also try to be real. And I just don't know what this return looks like with this new variant of COVID-19.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Sadly, this new variant is running rampant. And to be perfectly blunt, I'm not as concerned about it in New York as I am in other areas of the country where people are less vaccinated. Mm-hmm. Because New York, New York's tricky because New York is very, very vaccinated. But New York is also the place where everyone's on top of each other on the subway.
Right.
So it's tricky. And in New York also, traditionally, this last year has done a much better job with mask wearing. And, you know, not to get political, you know, regardless of where you sit on that, that point, you know, New York, as unbiased as I could be, New York really did pretty well for the most part in this last year with handling the pandemic and, you know, with our vaccines and with our masks. And I think that's why we're able to have a good plan of action of reopening Broadway, as opposed to like London, who is reopening and closing every couple weeks, their theaters, because they never really waited till they got to a good spot.
Right.
And so things are certainly looking up as far as employment and jobs, and things getting back into it. But I am proceeding very cautiously.
Yeah. Let's just real quick, and how much more time do you have? I just want to make sure I get you.
I've got, let's say 20 minutes. 15,
that sounds fine.
Like 15, 20 minutes.
Let's leave it at about 10, 15. That'll be fine. 10 or 15 minutes here. Cool. I just don't want to run you too close. So what are you, is it something you want to talk about that you're doing tonight? Do you have, And did I pronounce it correctly?
What?
The name of the place where you're going tonight.
Oh, yes. Yes. Feinstein's 54 Below.
Oh, see, you said Feinstein's. I said Feinstein's.
Oh, honestly, I don't know.
Okay. Find out tonight. You could let me know.
I think it's Feinstein's, but I could be totally wrong.
Yeah.
Never really thought about it.
So what is that? What is the place? I looked it up online.
Yes. It's a very well-known cabaret spot in New York. It's actually it's what used to be Studio 54.
See, that's what I said to my friend today because I saw the logo. I'm like, well, that's the 54 from Studio 54.
Yeah, so it used to be Studio 54. It's like the basement.
Yeah, okay.
It's a restaurant with a cabaret stage, and a lot of Broadway performers do solo concerts and cabarets. It's an intimate venue. And one of my clients, an actor named Jelani Remy, who plays the starring role of Eddie Kendricks in Ain't Too Proud on Broadway. Wow. He is doing his solo cabaret tonight at Feinstein's.
I can't wait to get a text from you later and find out. Text me tonight.
I think it's Feinstein, but now you have me really second guessing. I've really heard both, so who knows? But yeah, so my coworker and I are going to go support and schmooze and see his solo concert.
Very good.
Yeah,
very good. That's cool. What's one of your favorite things about being in New York? I mean, I've been there multiple times because my wife she was in publishing, so every year she'd go there and we'd catch a show, and there's my Dr. Seuss moment for the day, and we'd always catch a show out there, even when the budget really wasn't as good as it could have been. We still found some good tickets for Mamma Mia, and saw that 10 minutes before the show. We bought $70 tickets. And we were 7th row center.
Yeah.
And Conrad Korsch, who is Rod Stewart's bass player, was sitting in the orchestra for his buddy that night. So we got to see him real quick, and then we got to hang out at the show. But it's exciting. So I know it's an exciting town. I know that it's true. It never sleeps. I mean, what do you find is some of your favorite things about New York? There's not just one.
Yeah, of course.
It's like Lay's potato chips. So
I love it. I love New York. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. I love that. I love the sense of community in New York. There's so many different people here, but like being New Yorkers kind of bonds us all together. I mean, not to keep harping on COVID, but like, when lockdowns kind of got eased a bit and people started, going back out, it was like so, because the world was, last summer, the world was a mess and was crazy. And like, do you wear masks? Do you not wear masks? Masks save lives. Masks, all of this thing. And like the first time I got on the subway after the pandemic and to see everyone there on the subway wearing a mask was just such an amazing feeling that like, no matter what you do or don't believe, like in New York, there's just this sense of community and teamwork that everyone was like, I'm just going to do it.
Right.
It was just so cool to see that. I don't think you see that in a lot of places, whether you think that's a good or a bad thing. I just don't think, you see that sense of community in that way in a lot of places that it's not already built into. You know what I mean? For a city that has people from everywhere else to all be able to come together and like align on so many things is really, really cool and a really special thing about New York. The food. I
was going to say, where's the best pizza? For real. Where's the best?
Anything you want here. There's a lot of good pizza around here. There's a really good place in the West Village called Danino's that it's just a really good place in general, like for Italian food.
Yeah.
And then there's one right near Times Square and also one actually in the West Village called John's Pizza. There's 2 in the city. That's also pretty. That's it. John's and Danino's for sure.
Anywhere I can go to get a slice to fold in half, I'm ready to rock. Well,
you can just get any great dollar slice on any corner for that, and it's going to be great.
I know one of my favorite things on the street that we always would look for every year is the nuts for nuts, because I love that stuff. And then like one of the last years we went there, they added chunks of coconut. I'm like, I'm totally in.
Nice.
I'm totally in.
Nice.
Now, as far as like music is concerned, because we deal, you deal with a lot of people in theater, and we're going, actually, are you going to be here coming to the Muni at all?
I am. I'm going to try to see as many things at the Muni this summer as I can. I'm popping through St. Louis very, very briefly this weekend on my way to Dallas.
Okay, cool.
So I'm going to catch the Muni Sunday night before I head to Dallas on Monday to see the first tour back. Wicked. And then I'm going to try to pop back in and out of St. Louis in August a bit.
Very cool. Yeah. We'll have to keep in touch with you about those. We have, like I said, we have season tickets. It's the reason that you and I are talking tonight. And for the next few weeks until the 19th of August, when we don't have a show.
Yes.
Then I may do a show on that Thursday again and kind of get back into it. But I don't want to confuse anybody. I might as well tell them Tuesdays till the second week of August,
Yeah. You'll be seeing all of my clients in the Muni.
Yeah, or second week of September is what I mean. Yes, and that's another reason we got to keep in touch. That would be great. Yeah. We've enjoyed it so much. There's so many great people there at the Muni. And in fact, even all the way down to Carl, the security guy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he and I talk every year. I always stop by and if I'm not there for a show, he's like, well, where you been? I was like, I wasn't, Jay Shastri, he's always down there. Jay's always a lot of fun.
I know. I used to do theater with Jay's son.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Well, we'll have to, if you're ever going to be there on a Thursday, let me know. I mean, I will, but that's when
I'll let you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, as far as like some of the greatest music, before I let you go, some of the greatest music that you think has happened throughout the years, classic to, now.
Oh gosh, you're really exposing my poor taste again.
I talked to your dad about that. See, I know Matt's dad. I work with Matt's dad.
That's where it is.
I didn't want to get into all of that too much, but that's how it happened.
We can always talk about Coach Tom.
I mean, Coach, or as we call him, Coach Red. I mean, he's a brilliant dude, man. I love that guy. He's a lot of fun, and we've had many great conversations over the years. And when he mentioned about what you do, I'm like, I have got to talk to this guy. And then when I started doing the show, I'm like, I got to have him on the show.
Yeah.
And he's a lot of fun. What was it like growing up with a dad like that? Is he always fun, or were you like?
He's always fun, and if he's not fun, he thinks he's fun. No. You can't hold me to this. You're gonna have to delete this after, but Coach Red is absolutely the best dad anyone could ever want.
And I won't take that personally because I have 2 kids. So
exactly. You weren't my dad, so I can say it.
That's right. You can definitely do that.
He's the coolest. I could have a whole other stream of Coach Tom for sure. He's the best.
Yeah. He and I both work for the special school district, so we work in the same high school and stuff. So it's been a very much a pleasure getting to know him and becoming friends over the years, and having way too many laughs over the years about, like, especially when you just look at each other and go, you can't write this stuff. Because it's life. It's just life in and amongst people, and it's just amazing the things that happen. And when you see those lights go off, certain times you're like, bing, and you're like, I made a difference, I think, right there,
Absolutely.
And I think he and I have shared those at the same time, certain times, and everything. But anyway, back to so your dad, awesome. So there you go.
Awesome guy. I just won't even lie. I have such poor taste in music. But music is my guilty pleasure. I just really, really like pop music. And
I like pop music too.
Like bad mid 2000s, like my generation of like pop idols, you know,
Yeah.
the Britney, the NSYNC, the
Yeah.
Justin, like that and beyond into like pop trash is honestly what I really like. I think it's just I like earworms. I think it's very, very cliche, but I think Beyonce is a pretty big icon.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
that's not my musical palette is not too complicated. I'm very easily pleased by a little bop. Um, so I
So Eilish, does
exciting
Billie
one.
Eilish, does that ring for you?
Yes, absolutely.
There you go. Nice and easy peasy. Just
Exactly.
just give me a rhythm and a drone and I'll put words over the top.
Exactly. But I think I've got a lot to say when it comes to talent and film and television and not music.
Let me put it this way then. When you it's Okay, so let me ask you one quick question then. As far as one of the new ones and something that's pop and an earwiggy thing, what about Hamilton? What did you feel about that when it came out in the Heights? Did you know about it ahead of time before that and all that stuff?
Yeah, I was very, very lucky. I saw the original Broadway cast of Hamilton 6 years ago when I was interning in New York. And I saw it a couple days before opening night. So before it had really made its big splash, there was no recording to listen to when I saw it for the first time. And it's incredible. It's an incredible work of art. I knew In the Heights, so I was familiar with Lin-Manuel.
Okay.
And it's an incredible piece of art. And I've been very, very lucky that I think I've seen it like 8 times on stage.
Wow, that's
to see multiple casts in it, multiple actors doing it, et cetera. It's an incredible piece of art. I actually have not watched it on Disney Plus yet.
Wow, dude, what the heck? Get out of my head. How did you know? I was just gonna say that.
I know I have not, and I have not watched it yet.
Well, when you do, I'll keep in touch with you. And when you finally do, I would love to know what you feel as far as the difference between your experience, not whether it was good, bad, or indifferent. Just how was the experience for you watching that going, well, that's pretty cool. They did a great job capturing that live feel, but there was you get to step even closer to the show.
Totally.
So I'm eager to know, somebody who's seen it that many times. I wish I was fortunate enough to have seen it once yet, but because of the pandemic, we didn't get to see it at the Fox.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason we bought season tickets.
Oh, of course.
Because the cost was about the same.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Get all those multiple shows in.
Yes, which we saw some great shows. I'm not going to complain. It is what it is, and everything happens for a reason.
Exactly.
And when I see the show eventually, it's because it was supposed to happen. So
exactly.
Yeah. And everything. So, well, maybe what we'll do is we'll keep in touch and find out about some of your favorite movies, television, and maybe we'll have you. We've already talked about your friend who has a Twitch channel that we'd love to have you guys on Go Game Go and promote that.
Definitely.
There was, I had one last thing I was going to ask you and I just lost it. I don't know. I just had it in my head and it's very important to me to ask you. I know I've been in conversation with you real quickly about some folks that I know who are getting ready to graduate from college coming up this next year, after this next year. And then she works in wig and makeup design. And then the sister who's doing the acting thing, and she's going into college and she's going to further her education there and everything. So what is some good on the surface advice that you can give somebody when they're getting ready to get into, especially the theater business?
I think it's really important in the theater business, a couple things. You have to know that it's very hard. It's possible, but it's very hard. So know that. You have to, the theater business, no matter what you do in it, whether you're an actor, an agent, a wig designer, costumes, stage management, etc., it's a very draining job, because it's not a job that, it's not like a job where you go to work from 9 to 5 and then you close your computer and you're done for the day. Like, given the nature of the business, it's very mentally and emotionally active. And you have to know that, and you have to do the best of your ability to compartmentalize that and to shut it off when you can. But you have to know that it's not a job that you can close your computer at 5, go home and forget about it. It's just not. And that's okay.
Right.
Because someone has to do it, but you just have to be prepared for that. And with that comes a lot of research. You have to know what's going on in the business. And I think that's with any job. You have to know what's going on in your business. So it's really important to just know what's happening, be researching, be keeping up with the trades, with Deadline and Playbill and Hollywood Reporter and Variety. It's just really important to know what's going on. Yeah. And to know that no matter what, you still have to have fun with it.
Always. You know, I say I told my students during this whole pandemic thing, I said, you know, there's one word that always comes to mind, and it's contentment. You have to be content. You may not like it. You may understand that it's a stinky, crappy situation, but at the same time, if you can find a place of contentment with whatever you are in the midst of, then you're going to be coming out ahead, you know.
100%.
Because until you can change it, if you can't change it, you know, and that's where I was coming at it from my students was, you can't change it. So just be content where you are, because pretty soon you're going to be back at school and you'll be bitching and moaning that you're back at school. So take it for what it is, you know?
Totally.
Well, Matt, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy your evening. I hope the show with your friend is a smash hit, and you'll enjoy it, and it'll make your day for tomorrow. So thanks again for coming on. Let's talk some more. If you got just a second afterwards, we can hang afterwards for just a second. And in the meantime, everybody just remember, as I always say, when you walk out the door in the morning, you're in everybody else's world. They're not in yours. So just be cool, play fair, and everybody's going to get through it. It's going to be great. So everybody have a great one. Thanks again, Matt. We will talk with you soon about some more things, and all the best to you and the company.
Thank you for having me.
Keep yourself busy.
I will.
All right. Take it easy.
Thanks.